Good afternoon, everybody. Phil Simons and Rudy Whiteside here with Columbia Grain in your Friday afternoon weekly grain market recap. Well, not a whole heck of a lot of new fundamental data came out this week, Rudy, as really the holiday mode seems to be setting in. But what are you seeing this week?
Well, not a lot of new news, Phil, but another exciting week in futures nonetheless. Let's pull up some data here.
Sure, you bet. So let's go ahead. I'm going to share our screen with you again. We're going to navigate to our favorite website, columbiagrain.com.
Of course.
And in the upper right-hand corner, you can go to Producer Solutions, and that's really where we house all of our data. So let's pull up what we saw this week in terms of futures price action.
Absolutely. As we said, kind of a quiet week, but one of the big things that's going on in red wheats is if you just look at the chart, the past 30 days has been really, really rough. I mean, just looks like the downside of a roller coaster, to say the least. You know, Kansas City is down almost $1.25 in the last 30 days, and Minneapolis is down about 80 cents. But if you do pull up that chart, we saw some support in the last few sessions around Minneapolis at about 890 and Kansas City at 820. And it's good to see that support. We bounced off that, and now we're just kind of hanging out around there. With all this futures, everything that's just going on with futures, I think we have a pretty good chart to take a look at. It's actually fund positions for Chicago wheat, if we could pull that up, also on our website.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and go back over there real quick. So that's the Commitment of Traders report.
Absolutely.
So here we are.
So this report is showing where managed money, how long or short they are. And you can see back in about February, March, they really started to add some length. And that was when we had the first start of the Ukrainian situation. And they kept that length till about the midsummer, early summer or so. And then they started to liquidate it. And as of late, when you look at October and beyond, they have begun to especially start to get short and, you know, flipped pretty dramatically. And I don't know about you, Phil, but, you know, they've been keeping it in the last year or so between about 50,000 contracts, but they've started to really go under that. And you can see we also have the historical highs and lows for where that fund position has been.
Yeah.
So they're still pretty far away from that on the low end. But I mean, when you're looking at that, it's certainly...
Oh, it's definitely a market mover. Absolutely. Because when you take your position from a short, you know, close to 50,000, and this is 50,000 contracts.
Yeah.
And then you go to a net long, you know, closer really to close to 50,000 contracts long, you know, that'll definitely move the market. And we absolutely saw that earlier this year, you know, when we rallied closer to $12
for sure.
And, you know, and then like you just said, Rudy, I mean, they've actually kind of flopped their position here recently, and they're closer to back, you know, to right around a 50 to 60,000 contract short position.
Right. Yeah. It's good to look at the Chicago wheat one here just because it's the most liquid. So it's going to give you the best idea. But I mean, short in Kansas City wheat as well.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
With all this movement we've seen in futures, another really big thing that's happened too is we've seen the spread between Minneapolis and Kansas City trade change dramatically. We have another chart here, which can be found on our website. And typically, I would say in a normal situation, Minneapolis will be a premium to Kansas City.
Sure.
And then in about the last, you know, looking back here, last little while, we've seen Kansas City and Minneapolis be pretty close to even, sometimes Kansas City being the premium. And we've started to see that spread normalize, and Mini is now the premium again.
Right.
And we all kind of knew that this would happen, but it was all just a timing thing. And the time frame was uncertain, and it had to do with the tightness of HRW as well as the large on-farm stocks for HRS. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens here, because this spread action is going to really have an implication on what mills will be milling at.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure. And mills are going to be incentivized right now to be using more HRW in lieu of spring wheat.
Yeah.
And it's not just going to be domestically, but from an international standpoint too, in terms of exports. It's going to have a real big effect on that.
That's a great point.
Yeah. And it's going to be something to watch going forward into the future. The spread lately has just been really volatile. I mean, extremely volatile.
Yeah.
Speaking on the tightness of winter wheat, I wanted to pull up another chart we have here on our website. This is actually the U.S. Drought Monitor. You know, when you're looking at it and you're looking at the areas where they're producing winter wheat,
Right.
Montana, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska, Colorado, it's pretty rough. If you see those really dark areas, The darkest of the reds, that's exceptional drought. And the slightly more Santa Claus red, as you might say, would be an extreme drought. And while this looks pretty bad, it's actually been on the improve lately. The USDA is saying that about 71% of winter wheat areas in a drought, and that's actually an improvement from 73 the week before, and higher than that in late summer, early fall timings. I talked to a farmer down in Kansas the other day, and he was telling me he's actually in one of these exceptional drought areas. He was telling me things are actually looking pretty decent to start out. You know, the wheat's come up, looks okay. And, you know, if in the spring we got some timely rains down there, we could be looking a lot closer to $1 less on the market than $1 more. You know, I mean, it's rough down there, and some rain could really dramatically change what's going on with futures and in cash for sure.
Well, I mean, the volatility has been the big highlight this year. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, especially with the ranges that we've seen this year, and it just again goes to highlight the importance, right, of getting your orders out there and working and having that plan established and looking out the curve, right? Look to 23, look to 24, you know, for pricing opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and be sure to get a hold of, you know, your local Columbia Grain merchandiser, right, to get those orders out there, and look at some of our new accumulator contracts as well.
For sure. I'll tell you what, if I'm a farmer and I'm sitting on wheat in the bin, particularly spring wheat, I think one of the best things you can do right now is reward the rally. I mean, look at the chart. We haven't had a whole lot of rallies lately. I mean, it rallies. Don't be afraid to split off 5 or 10. And then the other thing I would look at too is, I mean, a market solutions contract right now is great. It's going to give you the premium that maybe you're looking for in the market. And if you have a double up, you're going to put it at a place where you feel comfortable doubling up. And I think it's the right way to go right now, for sure.
Yeah, you got to feed a bull every day, I guess is what they say.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. Well, that's pretty much it. That's all we really wanted to talk about here today. Remember, the first 5 letters of broker spell broke. If we don't talk with you until next week, have a Merry Christmas, everybody, and we'll talk with you next week.